Go, often referred to as Golang, is a statically typed, compiled programming language designed at Google. It is known for its simplicity, performance, and efficient concurrency handling. Hi, I'm Vivin Arana, and I'm going to go over a quick up and running tutorial on Golang. So first, for installation, you can just Google for Golang and you'll probably end up in the website over there. Next, we can go and download the version that you want for your installation purposes. There's also installation instructions here, which takes you directly to which installation do you need. But I'm going to go here and I'm going to select I am using an Apple Mac OS ARM64 machine, so I'm going to download it here. Once I download it, it says that I have to open the package, then verify that you have. So I'm going to open my terminal and keep everything ready. Make it a little bigger. Go here, still downloading. I can probably check if I have installed Go before, say Go version, and it doesn't. It says command not found, which means I have not installed Go before. So it's going to take 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and here we go. I realize I use Go word quite a lot, especially when I'm recording this. Install this software. It's going to take a few seconds and it's going to install Go on our machine. I'm going to go ahead, and sometimes what happens is, even if you have this, since you have terminal open while you're installing, it might not work. So I'm going to quit my terminal completely, and once this is installed, say move to trash. The installer is what I'm moving to trash, and here let's go ahead and try Go version. It says Go version Geo 122.5. So that worked. So that was the first step of getting started. Now usually what I do is I have this folder created on my desktop where I'm going to keep all my files. Usually I divide them into 3 different folders: src, package, where the package file goes, and next is bin folder. So these are the 3 folders that I keep. Now I'm going to open this in my favorite editor, Sublime Text, and in here, okay, I just installed this, so it's giving me that installation updates. But in here, we're going to start with the Hello World program. So starts with package main. Then next, I am importing the formatter library, which helps you do printing and other kind of operations, basic operations. The reason, and then function main. This is the first function that runs when the code is run. So here I'm going to say format dot print ln. Print line is like it will print one, and then next time when you print, it will print on the next line. Hello world. This is a simple hello world program. Now running it, so first I'll want to save it somewhere. So I'm going to go to my folder Go projects, src, and here I'm going to save this as, let's say, hello.geo. That's the extension. Next, I'll open my terminal. I'll go to my folder in desktop, Go projects, src. In here, I am going to say go run hello.geo. So what this will do is this will compile, build, and then run that particular project. If you want to create an executable, like if you look at here, I just have the hello.geo file. If you want to create an executable of this, which what you do is you just say go build and give the name of your file. It will create. Now if you look at it, it created an executable file. Now if you want to run this, you just say ./hello. That's how you run executables. Hello. So this is a basic hello world example that we just built. Next, let's look at some basic syntaxes and features. First, we look at variables and types. Go is a statically typed and requires explicit variable declaration. What do I mean by that? So in the same example that we have, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create a variable a, which is of the type string, and I'll call it initial. So this is how you can define a variable where I'm saying a is a variable of the type string and the value is initial. and I can say format dot, instead of println, this time I'm going to say print, and I'm going to print a. Actually, why not just to println? So whatever I'm printing, it goes in the next line. Next, if I want to create integer, so I can say integer b int. Now I can also do two integers at the same time. I can say b and c are integers, and b's value is 1 and c's value is 2. I can print that too, b and c. So this is how I can print those. Also, if I don't specify what type it is, it's going to look at the value. For in this case, the value is true. So what it will do is it will set this as a boolean value, boolean variable. That's what it will do here. What if I don't give a value? So if you don't give a value, you'll have to specify what type it is. For example, here I'm going to say variable e is an integer, and what it does is it will set some default value to it. In case of integers, it's going to set 0. Also, what if you don't want to do the variable sign? There's a shortcut for it. It's colon equal to. That's how you can initialize variables, and then after that you can use f wherever you want. So this is a short form of creating that. So let's run this and see if it worked properly. Since I'm not going to build this, I'm just going to run hello. You see it says hello world, which is the first one. Let's move side by side, and initial was printed here, then 1 and 2 true value, and as I mentioned, if you don't set, its value is set to 0, and the shorthand, it also printed that. So it worked without any issues. Next, we're going to look at functions. Now we already created one function, which was the func function. Functions in Go are defined using the func keyword, as you see here. So we created the func main, which is the first program that runs no matter what. So you should not use main for any other reason, but just for this running, providing the start point for your execution. Next, let's create another function here. Let's create, you can create up or down, but I like to, so you can, it's more visible to you. Now this function has two parameters that I want to pass. I want to add two numbers in this particular case. As you can see from the name, I want to do a, which is of the type int, and I want to b, which is of the type int. What does it return back? It will return back an integer. So this is how you create a function with parameters, and what does it return back? Return a plus b. Complex math here. And then here at the bottom, I will say, or at the top itself, let's not, so it's much more clear. I'm going to say fmt dot print ln, and now I want to add two numbers. What are those numbers? Let's give some complex numbers, 1 and 2, and that's what we will see in our first line. As you see, 3. I'm going to format, I'm going to comment these out here just so that we don't see. Just clear this out and run it again, and there you go, 3. Next, we are going to look at control structures. Now Go supports typical control structures like if, for, and switch. So let's go and run these, run the different types, starting from here. I'm going to comment this out and keep on continuing here. Now I'm going to say if, let's say, you don't have to give brackets, 7 mod. If you don't know mod, mod is the percentage which kind of gives you the remainder of the operation. So if I'm saying 7 mod 2 equal to 0, is 7 divisible by 2? No, the remainder is 1 in this case, because 2 times 3 is 6 and 1 is what we get. So this is not a not an even number. 7 is not an even number. So I'm going to just say fmt dot print ln. I'm going to say 7 is even if it goes through this. Else, so this is how you create if else. Just copy this, just change this to odd. If I run this, there you go, 7 is odd. If I give 5, or sorry, 6 and change 6, you'll see 6 is even number. So this is how mod operations can be done with if else statement. Next, look at another popular one, which is the for loop. So with for, I'm going to say for, I'm going to use the shorthand variable I equal to 0, and then if I is less than, I'm giving the range. So I want to run this loop 5 times. So I start with 0 and I want to do it until 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. is what it's going to do, I plus plus. And in here I'm going to say format dot print ln. In this particular case I'm going to say print the value of I. I'm going to comment this out since we already saw this and run this, and there you go, 0 to 4 is printed out for me. If you want to give numbers, then you can always do +1 here and then it will do 1 2 3 4 5, but up to you. Or you can always start from 1 until 6 depending on how you want to set it up. That's for loop for you. Next, let's look at a switch statement. With switch, what I'm doing is I'm saying let's check the time. Time is a library that is available, so I can just do something like in here. What I can do is I can say I want to import multiple libraries, format, and I want to do time. This is a nicer way of doing it. So now I can use that time time library that I have imported, and in here I can say time dot now, which is today's date with time. If is it a weekday? The day I'm recording this video is on a Thursday, so in this case I'll say case time dot Saturday if it's a Saturday, or time dot Sunday. So in these two cases, what I want to do is I want to say it's a weekend. It's the weekend, let's say that, and I'll do the same thing. Or if it's not, like if it's not Saturday or Sunday, then I'll just use, I'm not going to do it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, everything, but I'm going to use default, which is available, where I can say it's a weekday. Now run this. I'll say it's a weekday because it's a Thursday. Now I change this to, let's say, Thursday is a weekend, it's a weekend. That's how switch statements work. Now next, what we're going to look at is data structures. Data structures in Go. So data structures, first let's look at arrays and slices. Those are the interesting, important ones. So here in this particular main function, let's look at how do you define an array. Let's call it array A, and this array can take 5 elements and all of them are of the type int. This is how you define a array, and here I'm going to say print ln. I want to print that array. I am going to say this array has A inside it. If I run this, and I've not given any values inside it, or time is imported and not used, so let's get rid of time. I don't need that right now. Run it and it gives me an array. It creates an array of 5 elements inside and puts value. Since it's integer, it sets all of them default to 0. Now I want to set a value of the 4th element in there, so I can just say a4 equal to, set it to 100. Now I can say here array A. Now if I want to print only the 4th element, I can do this. Let's see. So an empty array, then it gives me array again after I added the value 100, and then if I only want the 4th element, you can just say 0 1 2 3 4. So that's how it works. That's the indexing of it. And when you set 4, it set the 5th element because the first element starts with the index 0. Next thing that I want to show is let's create an array of 5 integers, and if I want to assign these values, what I do is I use the curly brackets 1 2 3 4 and 5. That's how you can assign values to an array. In this case, I'm going to say array B, and then here I'll pass B. Run this and you'll probably see 1 2 3 4 5. So this is another way of doing this. Let's look at slicing. How can you get part slice of a particular array? So I create an array. I don't know how many items are there, so that's why I've set it to 0. And I want to get elements from the B array from the index 1 to 3. It doesn't include 3, 1 and 2, so it will just give me 2 and 3 in this case. let's see, let's call it slice and display s here. And you'll see in this particular case it created a slice of the actual array 1 2 3 4 5, but I only wanted the first element and the second element, so I'm saying from 1 to 3 but not 3. Do not include 3 in this. So that's how we do that. Next, let's look at maps, or sometimes called as dictionaries. So in Go we call it in map. So the way maps work is, so let me create a map here, map m, and I'm going to say make a map of strings and int. So key values are, key is string, values are int. That's what I'm specifying here. So this creates a map or a key value pair for me, where this map will have string as key and value as int. So for example, age is 15, grade is 35, so something like that. So I'm going to create one key, I'll call it k1 just for simplicity, and I'll assign value 7 to it. I can create another k2 and I'll assign value, let's say 13 to it. Next, I'm going to print this out. I'm going to say print the map, and the map is m. In this case, when I run this, you'll see I have map k1 7, k2 13. So it creates the map for me. Next thing that I can do is I can create another map, let's say v1 equal to m of k1, m of, this is, I'm assigning the value from the map k1, and so I'm not creating a map here, I'm actually creating a variable with which will be an integer variable because the values of this is integer, and I'm gonna say v is v1. When I run it, I get the value 7 to it. That's how you assign values of a map. Now what if I want to delete some value inside the map? So to delete, I'll use delete m. I want to delete k2. So by saying that, I can now display the entire array of the map. Let's say map. You'll see the map was k1 and k2. I displayed the value v here of 7, and then I said delete k2, and the map now only consists of value k1. Next, let's look at the blank identifier in this particular case. Blank identifier is something that declares, so it avoids having to declare all the variables for the return values. It is called blank identifier because you don't know what exactly it is. So the way it works, the way you define it is underscore comma, and let's say the variable is PRS, and in this case I'm going to say m of k2. Now if you look at it, we have deleted m of k2. So what happens in this case? Copy this, and I'm going to print out PRS. So this value doesn't exist. So in this case, what it will do is it will set it to false. The reason is it checks if the value exists or not, right? mk2 doesn't exist, so it's going to create a boolean. It will make PRS boolean and assign it the value of false. If there was a value inside k2, if I had not deleted this and run this, you'll see it will say there's a value that exists, so it's going to set the value to true. So that's how this blank identifier works. Next, I want to cover concurrency. So Go provides concurrency primitives in the form of goroutines and channels. So if you want to run multiple functions at the same time concurrently, that's what concurrency is. Usually what it happens is every single line is run one at a time. So in this particular case, what we can do is with goroutines, you can run two different lines of code at the same time, because if it takes time, it will take its own time and run it, but it will not stop from running other stuff that you have in the loop. I'm going to remove this, move it to the bottom because we don't need this anymore, comment it out, and here I am going to create a function f which takes string as a parameter, doesn't return anything, because for I equal to 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus, and inside that I'm going to say format dot print ln from, which is the value, I say, or from which is the string that was sent to me. I'm going to say I is what I want to display here. So it will say 1 to 3 depending on what string was passed. This kind of gives me, I'm going to call, for example, f. I'm going to make a direct call to this. So this, what it will do is, when I run this, let's clear it out. Oop. Run it. Time imported and not used. Oh, I've imported this because I'm going to use this in future. Let me do this for now, so it doesn't give me that warning. So direct 0 1 2. So what it does is it passes this string to from, and it says 1 2 3. So I'm going to call 2 more functions, but this time I'm going to use the go routine. So to run the go routine, what you do is you say go f, and here I'm going to say go routine, and now you'll see they'll run direct. And oh, the reason is I think it took some time and it just executed. It made a routine, but then the program ended. So if I want to see it before it goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that time which I mentioned. What I want to do is I want to call the sleep function. So I want to main thread in this particular case, since I'm not creating geo here and I'm calling this time function, what I'm time dot sleep function for a second. So now when I run this, you see it runs that and then sleeps for a second because it lets the other routine run before it closes the main application. Same thing if I create another routine with a function inside here where I say a message string is what it takes, and here I can say fmt dot println message is what I want to print, and in here I'm going to pass going as the string for this particular function. So I'm calling this function in line by passing the string going in here for this, and I can also print at the end something saying I am done with execution. Now when I run it, it will run the first routine, going, and second routine. So if you see, going got executed before go routine because it creates a separate thread and runs this, creates a separate thread for this and runs it. So it all ran concurrently without having a problem. The only thing that you would worry about is the main thread which is running. If it reaches the end without executing some of these or without giving it time to execute these things, it will complete your program and you'll not have these executed as you saw. So that's why I added the time sleep just to show you the example. Next, we're going to look at the channels which are used for concurrency. In channels, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. Let's say messages is what I want to pass in the channel. I'm going to make a channel by saying make channel which has string, the type string, and then I'll go func, and inside here I am going to say messages ping. I'm going to pass a message ping inside this particular function, and I'm going to run this function in line. Then I'm going to say message is equal to show me, give me all the messages. That's what I'm saying here, and I'm saying fmt dot println msg. So what I'm doing here is I am creating, okay, I'm not running time, so I'm going to get the, I'm creating a messages channel which has the value which is strings channel, and then I'm running this function where I'm assigning ping to it in a go routine, and then I am assigning these messages to the variable message, and I'm saying print them out. Let's look at it, and you see the ping messages inside there. So more and more messages that come in, it will keep on adding to it, and it'll run this. So now we've seen all these different types. Now next thing that I want to show you is error handling. Now Go uses a simple error handling model based on multiple return values. So what do I mean by that? So I'm going to use a library called as errors library. I think it's errors, not error. Okay, and we'll create a function here. Function, I'll call it f1, and it has an argument arg of the type int, and it returns back int and errors. Yes, the geo can return tuples back, and this is a tuple where two values have been passed back. Now I'm saying if argument, so I'm writing if argument equal to a particular number, let's say 42, which is meaning of life. I am gonna say return -1, so it takes integer, and I can also pass a string, or also pass the error by saying errors dot new, and then say can't work with 42. Else, or I don't even have to say else, I can just say return. In this case, if it's any other number, I'm gonna say argument, whatever argument number was passed, I'll add it by, let's say 3, and there are no errors in here. So I'm returning back whatever they passed me, added 3 to it, and I said error is nil. So how do I use this? So to use this in your main function, I'm gonna say for, now I don't know what type it's gonna return, so I'm gonna use that blank operator and blank identifier, and I'm gonna say I equal to range and of an array integer 7 comma 42. So I created this array of 7 comma 42, and I want to run the loop around it, and here I'm saying if r comma e, which is what I'm gonna get back from calling that function f1 by passing the value I. So first time the value will be 7, so it will pass the value 7 here, and e is not equal to nil. So I'm saying that when you pass this value, if e is not equal to nil, then I want to do println f1 failed, and what was the reason it failed? I'll pass the error to it, something like that. Else, let's say when they pass, so when they pass 7, there will be no error, so because it passes back this, so it's not equal to nil. And in the second case, when it's passes, so when I pass 7 here, so it adds 3 to it and passes nil, so it's not failed, it passed. So for that case, I'm gonna say println f1 worked, and in this case it will give me the result. So first time result is -1, so I don't care. Sorry, and when I pass 7, it works because it will add and pass that and give me this result. In the second case, when it's not nil, it's going to go here and then say f1 failed and say can't work with 42 over here. So let's run it and see if it works. Syntax unexpected arg at the end of the statement. Where did I use this? So the problem here I see is like I misspelled return. Let's run this again, and there you go. F1 failed, can't work with 42, and for 7 it says F1 worked and 10. So this is all that I wanted to cover in this particular crash course, which provided you basic overview of Go programming. We'll probably do more in future videos. If you're more interested, let me know. I can create some more videos on Golang if you're interested, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments.